This video is going to be a bit weird, and I don't mean it to come across as angry as it will. This video basically comes from me having enough and wanting to put the record straight. I get a lot of people comment or message me, oh, like, I watched this video, or this person, like, what do I think of it, like, is it correct? And I just get outright other people saying that I'm wrong because another person has done X, Y, Z. Now, point in case here is this. I'm not trying to single this person out, they've actually done nothing wrong other than be misled. He states, if damage output is your goal, the Sir Elmo's is the only assault rifle in the game that you should be using, and if in any doubt, just look at the most recent video by Fog of War when they eventually nerf it, bloody 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 blah. One, it's already been confirmed they're not going to nerf it. Two, my rebuttal is, in terms of raw DPS, then Elmo's only comes in 4th place, and referencing a person who's been proved wrong on so many occasions is not the way to go. His reply is, just kind of have to disagree on this one. Fog has been proved wrong, quote unquote, by people who have no concept of how to use data and thus rely on anecdotal evidence. Instead, I have replicated many of Fog's results, and he is by far the most accurate and knowledgeable person out there when it comes to how to evaluate damage in the game. Furthermore, the measurement of raw DPS is a useless exercise as it measures DPS at the muzzle, not the point of impact. Every other expert fails to actually take into account accuracy, stability, and the pattern when they evaluate a weapon. Now, this is actually something that kind of annoyed me because Fog of War actually created his channel to rebuttal me because I kept on calling him an idiot. We'll glaze over that. So, my reply is, considering he's unable to even calculate DPS and is, from my own testing, beyond wrong on the matter, many have tried correcting him. He is literally the only one doing it in that manner, despite the fact that literally every other game calculates DPS in the same way, and it's only Fog of War doing it differently. It does not take a genius to figure out it's factually incorrect. There are World of Warcraft DPS sites that you can put your Division 2 calculations in and you get the exact same result. Weird, huh? Measuring accuracy is redundant. How I perform on a weapon is not going to be how you perform on a weapon, both of which will give vastly different results, as well as, without looking at the server-side code of interactions and dealing with damage, it is literally impossible to tell. What we can do though is compare the code interactions between the Division and other games that let us use third-party software that show the true DPS on target. Games like Monster Hunter, World of Warcraft, Remnant. Guess what? They are the same. The fact is, we know how the damage in Division works. We have known for years. Nothing has changed. What Fog is doing is factually, provably wrong and is misleading hundreds of people because, in his own words, he knows better. There have been many conversations and they all lead down to the root of he has found a better way, he knows better. So that is literally his own words. In short, you've been lied to and you fell for it. Now, 10 months ago, I did this video, Donkey La, where I went over people like questioning damage calculations. It's only 3 minutes long. There's no words. It's me literally just typing it all out. And it basically says if you're having a problem with your DPS calculations, then you have done something wrong. It's not the DPS calculation. The build I showed in that video is Dod-Foamath, 3-piece Providence, Grupo gloves, Dodge City holster, Fox's Prayer knees. Crit chance, crit damage everywhere. It's got 6% crit chance, 164% critical hit damage. On a body crit, this build will hit 514,518. For body DPS, it hits 5.8 million. Now, what is on screen now is an excerpt from the aforementioned video where I go over this build. As you can see, I've got a Dod-Foamath, 3-piece Providence, Dodge City holster, Fox's Prayer, Grupo gloves. The only difference here being is the Dod-Foamath has killer on, but that was going to have no bearing on the overall build unless I actually get a kill with a crit. On the build I showed on the site, I utilize preservation. At base, these are going to give the same damage. As you can see, 6% crit chance, 164% critical hit damage. It's all there. This is the exact same build that I showed in the builder, as well as the on-screen DPS calculation. Here is the calculation that I did God knows how long ago. Hopefully you can see there, 514, 518. There we are, crit, 514, 518. Now I am going to speed up the footage of this video now, but I'm going to play the whole thing just so that people can't say that I'm cheating or editing it, it is like, or cutting things out, it's just sped up just so I can get to the next area, just in case someone's going to go, oh, but that's the range, you're not going to get that out in the world. Well, you'd be damn well surprised. 514, 518. We're able to calculate damage exactly. It's okay, I'll even do it again. We can calculate these numbers, there's no difference. So then, when we take these calculations and we use, I don't know, a World of Warcraft calculator, which is here. Now, I've had to actually manually put in the damage numbers. However, once we actually go through and calculate the DPS side of it, along with the fact that it adds things in like element, we hopefully can see that the second from the bottom, single mag base plus critical DPS is 5,800,015.68. If we use a Borderlands DPS calculator, I've had to input these a bit differently. I've had to actually take my non-crit and my crit, put them together as an average, and then go through the fire rate, the mag size, blah blah blah. But I still get where it says average DPS weapon 1, 5,800,020 DPS. Just to refresh our memory, the DPS of this build from my calculations did 5,800,026 DPS. Why is it slightly higher? Well, for the others, I literally just manually put in like 194,893, or I did 194,893 times 0.4 and then 514,518 times 0.6, add them together, which is what I had to do for the Borderlands one. These are whole numbers that are going to give a slightly different value. What is the difference on my spreadsheet is what you can't see. There is an absolute metric ton of decimals, which hopefully for obvious reasons I did not type into the other builders or DPS calculators. Essentially what I'm saying is pretty much every game calculates damage and DPS the exact same bloody way. Even Diablo 4 with just its normal crit calculations, it's the exact same. Looks a bit more fancy, got some nice symbolisms there, but it is the exact same. If you followed this formula and put in your Division 2 stats, you will get the exact same results. This is furthermore shown and has been tested by people that are able to data mine the game and look directly at the code. Considering you're able to get boss 1 of Dark Hours, Boomer, to appear at boss 2, do you really think we don't know how to look at the damage? Now, I get angry at things like this. I don't mean the Boomer thing, the whole damage calculation arguments. Not because I'm arrogant or I think I know better. It's because we know. We've known for years. These sorts of conversations just actually make me feel like Brian Cox, just not that intelligent.
So it is, you cannot claim that there wasn't a Big Bang because you can see it.
As such, you are unable to make claims such as this because, same logic, we can fucking see it. This is nowhere near accurate. Not only are we able to compare the DPS that we do in Division to the same calculations that are used in basically every game where there is a damage calculation, which shows that the previous screenshot is incorrect. We're also able to look directly at the code to show that the calculations that this person is using are just completely incorrect. So, going back to the original statement here, if damage output is your goal, St. Elmo's is the only assault rifle in the game that you should be using, is factually false through misinformation, and despite the fact that he says the person that he got this information from doesn't use it, it's completely anecdotal evidence, which is covered in IKEA's bad methodology and bad data video, which I highly recommend you watch because it really does just highlight the issue overall with Fog of War. His information is not good, period. Now, I'm not wanting this to be an attack on him. I really want him to actually get the best information, the good information, and put it out there. His style of video is brilliant. His editing is actually amazing. I'm genuinely jealous of the quality of his videos. The subjects he covers are very in-depth. He just goes about them completely the wrong way. Going back to the whole Brian Cox thing and going on to like astrology and other subjects that I have no business talking about, Fog genuinely covers some of the more difficult subjects within the game. The problem is, literally all of it is anecdotal. It's his experiences. To piggyback off of IKEA's bad methodology, bad data, rambling talk, he goes over the optimal range that Fog covered. And he shows that the way Fog plays and the way he plays are entirely different. Fog found that being 30 to 40 meters was like the best area to actually be in, and yet IKEA found that the majority of his kills in the area where he was playing was 5 to 15 meters. Now, if I was to get involved in this and do that, you'd probably actually find that I'm going to lean more towards IKEA, not because I like IKEA more than Fog, but that's just how I play. For an overall red build, I tend to play because it maximizes my DPS, it maximizes my performance, it gets most of my bullets on targets. Within 15 meters, I am the most accurate, which allows me to get the most damage output possible on the build that I have. This is, for me, basic logic. If I can't hit the target at 40 meters because target is too small, I'll just stand a little bit closer. In fact, you could just argue that if you're finding your best range to be at 40, then you are actually playing suboptimally. So many people like trying to tell me, oh, like my calculations don't take into account accuracy, bloody bloody blah. Well, they do, but at the same time, if you're playing at 40 meters, you're also not playing optimally. So here we have a spreadsheet of exactly the same build. We've got test build 90, which is 90% accuracy, test build 80, 80%, test build 70, 70% accuracy. The test build itself is 100% accuracy. And here is the DPS of this build with those accuracies. You might notice that the actual damage, so the body non-crit, body crit, head non-crit and head crit, actually haven't changed. But the DPS, the further down you go, is changing. First one is 8.5 mil and 5.8 mil for body. And then for the 90% accuracy, we've dropped from 8.5 to 8.1 and 5.8 to 5.5. We can calculate accuracy. It's not that hard. The problem is, doing this is completely fucking redundant. It makes no difference on the overall performance of the build, simply just because this is a you problem. On average, depending on what it is I'm doing, I am 70% accurate, typically with an assault rifle. 70 to 80%. However, I also engage, typically, around the 15 meter mark. Now, if I was to engage again at 30 meters, I would be less accurate. If you was to compare me, I would say I'm pretty above average player, doing my DPS at 15 meters with my 70 to 80% accuracy, depending on what's going on. Other variables obviously do come into effect, versus SHD 200 player, brand new to the game, has the exact same build, optimized to hell, exact same build, but they're engaging at 40 meters and is just generally less accurate overall, even at 15 meters. That the whole accuracy argument is now just completely redundant. It makes no sense, and all you're doing is wasting your time. While doing DUA legendary speedruns with Hutchler, Darky and Reslivo, the average accuracy was 76% and it's all headshots. Within 5 meters. Playing with Rise of Brutality, a lot. It's all headshots, within 10 meters at about 70% accuracy. Watch a Rotoblitz video, it's like 95% accuracy, it's all headshots, and it's 10 to 15 meters. Watch a GC Rock video, it's about 50% accuracy with headshots at about 15 to 20 meters. So when we compare optimal ranges or players' accuracy, who are we comparing it to? But when we do compare it, if you compare it to other players and say this is the conclusion I have come to of where my average optimal range is like 40 plus meters, it's complete bollocks, because that is just you. It's the exact reason we show builds on spreadsheets like this. This is the average of what this build is capable of doing when played in a somewhat optimal manner. If you are not getting these results, that is 100% on you. Your positioning is off. You've taken too much damage. You're not within optimal range. You're not playing how the build is kind of intending you to play. Granted, not everyone is going to be capable of playing these builds in a somewhat optimal manner. That is fine. That's why we have build variety. Now, just because this is the video that is in question, I'm not going to go over it just because it's all basically just wrong. However, the TLDR is St. Elmo's, according to him, is just literally the most powerful thing since nuclear warheads. It's so strong it should be nerfed immediately. So we're just going to take our basic DPS build and we can compare FAMAS and St. Elmo's on it. Now, to absolutely no one's surprise ever, FAMAS does like 8.87% more. Like, yeah. Oh, but Elmo's is more accurate. Then stand closer with a FAMAS. Problem solved. See, the problem is just the simple fact of we're able to put a damage talent on FAMAS. And in that regard, just because the base stats for Elmo are Police M4, let's just have a look at Police M4 with Flatline. Yeah, Police M4 is doing like 16% more. Like, shit bust. It just does so much more. Now, elephant in the room. The big problem with St. Elmo's is just the simple fact you can't put an 8x scope on it, because if it was going to change up the meta and the overall performance of ARs across the board, you would need to be able to put an 8x scope on it. You would need to be able to proc focus. Simply just because of that. In terms of overall output, St. Elmo's actually cannot even beat out a single high-end AR. It just can't. Simply just because we can put an 8x scope on it with perfect focus. So, has Elmo's done anything to change up the meta, the overall performance of ARs, and the actual eventual endgame within the Division 2? No, it's not even scratched the surface. Have fun. Good luck. Don't die. It's bad for the health.